Just days ago, the entire planet stopped to watch Spain beat Argentina to win the 2026 World Cup. Football is, without question, the most popular sport on Earth. But here's the strange twist. In some of the most famous countries in the world, football isn't number one. It isn't even close. In fact, all three countries that just hosted the World Cup crashed out early, and two of them don't even call football their favorite sport. Here's the most popular sport in every country. Let's begin where football is basically a religion. Brazil. This is the spiritual home of the beautiful game. A country with a record 5 World Cup titles and a style so joyful it has its own name. Here, football isn't a hobby, it's identity, poured out on every beach and in every dusty backstreet. Kids grow up dreaming in the yellow shirt. For Brazil, football isn't just the most popular sport, it's the national soul woven into music, culture, and pride itself. Now cross to England, the birthplace of the modern game. Football was codified here, its first rules written down in the 1800s before spreading to conquer the entire planet. The English gave the world its most popular sport, and their league is now the most watched on Earth. And they just enjoyed a golden run, taking third place at this very World Cup after a jaw-dropping win over France. In England, football isn't entertainment, it's a birthright the whole country feels it owns. Head to Argentina, still aching from that final defeat days ago. Here, football borders on the sacred. This is the land of Maradona and Messi, two players treated as living gods. Passion here runs so hot that murals of star players cover entire buildings, and a big match can bring a whole city to a standstill. Even in heartbreak, Argentina proves that in South America, football isn't a pastime. It's the great national obsession, love and pain in equal measure. Now for the first real shock, the United States. This country just hosted the World Cup, yet football, the kind you play with your feet, still isn't king here. The crown belongs to American football, a completely different sport of helmets, huge hits, and the Super Bowl, which is practically a national holiday. And here's the twist. The U.S. team was knocked out on home soil in the round of 16. The Super Bowl, the championship of American football, draws over 100 million viewers in a single night and has become an unofficial national holiday, complete with its own food traditions and legendary halftime shows. In the one country hosting the world's game still couldn't take the top spot. Just north, in Canada, we find the same story with a frozen twist. Canada co-hosted the World Cup too, and also crashed out in the round of 16. Because here, the true national love is ice hockey. This is a country where kids learn to skate before they can properly run, where frozen ponds become childhood cathedrals, and where a hockey game can unite the entire nation. Football is growing fast in Canada, but on ice, in the cold, is where the country's heart truly beats. Down to Mexico, the third World Cup host, and here the passion flips back to football. Mexicans are absolutely obsessed with the game, filling enormous stadiums with a wall of noise. But even proud Mexico was knocked out in the round of 16, meaning all three host nations fell early, a genuinely stunning result. Still, from street games to the national team, football in Mexico is pure loud, colorful devotion, tangled up with boxing and the theater of lucha libre wrestling. Now fly to Japan and prepare for a surprise. The most popular sport here isn't a martial art, and it isn't football. It's baseball. Introduced from America in the 1800s, baseball took root so deeply that it became Japan's #1 sport, complete with fanatical fans, legendary professional teams, and a national high school tournament, held every summer at a stadium called Koshien, that grips the entire country and turns teenagers into overnight heroes. In the land of sumo and samurai, the sport that captures the most hearts crossed the ocean from the other side of the world. Travel to India, home to over 1 billion people, and one overwhelming obsession: cricket. This is more than a sport here, it's a national fever. When the national team plays, streets empty, screens light up everywhere, and the whole country holds its breath together. The top players aren't just athletes, they're some of the most famous human beings on the planet. In India, cricket is the great unifier, binding a vast and wildly diverse nation into one roaring crowd. Head to Australia, where they love their sport fiercely and do it their own way. The most popular game is Australian rules football, a fast, brutal, high-flying code that exists almost nowhere else on Earth. Add in a deep love of cricket in the summer, and you have a nation that essentially invented its own sporting world. Australians will passionately watch almost anything competitive, but their homegrown football code is the one that truly fills the stadiums and the heart. Now to China, where the answer surprises almost everyone. While table tennis is the traditional national sport, the game that captures the most passion today is basketball. The NBA is massive here, superstars are worshipped, and hundreds of millions play and follow the game. A towering Chinese player named Yao Ming became a global NBA superstar in the 2000s and single-handedly turned an entire generation back home into die-hard basketball fans. In the world's most populous nation, the sport climbing highest isn't ancient at all. It bounced in straight from America. Cross to Ireland, home to some of the most unique sports on this entire list. The most popular games here are Gaelic games, Gaelic football, and hurling. Fast, fierce, and found almost nowhere else. And here's the astonishing part. The players are amateurs. They aren't paid, yet they fill massive stadiums and are treated as local heroes, playing purely for the pride of their home county. In Ireland, the biggest sport in the country is powered by nothing but passion. Fly to New Zealand, a small country with a giant sporting identity, rugby. The national team is one of the most feared in all of sport, famous for performing a spine-tingling Maori war dance called the haka before every match. In a nation of just a few million people, rugby is a source of enormous national pride, a way this tiny country stands tall against the giants of the world. Here, rugby isn't just popular, it's practically the national identity. Down to South Africa, a nation where sport carries real history. Rugby holds a special, powerful place here. This is the team that famously united a divided country, and they've since become world champions, treated as national heroes. But here's the honest nuance. Football is actually the most played sport by the numbers, especially at the grassroots. South Africa is really two sporting worlds at once, football on the streets and rugby as the fierce symbol of national glory. Push into Russia, where the cold shapes everything. Football has huge numbers of fans here, but the sport woven deepest into national identity is ice hockey. Russia has long been a superpower on the ice, producing legendary teams and players who dominated the world stage for decades. Through brutal winters, hockey became a symbol of national strength and pride. So while football fills the stands, it's on the ice where Russia has always felt truly unbeatable. And finally, Kenya, where the most iconic sport is one of the purest of all, running. Kenyans don't just compete in distance running, they utterly dominate it, producing many of the greatest marathon and long-distance champions the world has ever seen. Football is widely watched here, but on the track and the open road, Kenya stands alone at the very top of the planet. For this nation, running isn't just a sport. It's a source of world-beating, unmatched national pride. So, did you catch the real story? Football may rule the planet, crowned again just days ago, but the most fascinating countries are the rebels, the ones that fell in love with something else entirely. Baseball in Japan, cricket in India, hockey on the ice, amateurs filling stadiums in Ireland. The sport a country loves most is never just a game. It's history, geography, and identity, played out in the open air. If even one of these surprised you, hit subscribe, because we break down the world exactly like this every single week. And tell me in the comments, what's the biggest sport where you live? I read every single one. And to see the most popular drink in every country, click the video on your screen right now.